corazón, hablamos sin temor. La palabra de Dios, fuente de amor. No hay nada más real, nada más profundo.
Hello, everybody. Estoy feliz. I'm so excited. Today, we have a very special guest. Tenemos ahora una invitada de lujo desde Orlando, Florida. ¿Es it? Orlando, Florida.
Sí.
Y ahora con ustedes quiero presentarles a Melody Adorno. Woo-hoo!
Hello. So great to be here.
Yes.
Qué privilegio, en honor.
We are excited to have you, Melody.
Yes.
How is LA treating you? Is this the first time that you're here?
So no, this is my second time in LA specifically, my third time in Cali.
Okay.
But LA is treating me very beautifully.
Oh,
I mean, I think the
love
traffic
it.
has been a little crazy.
A little bit?
Just a little. Like
Just a little
LA
bit.
traffic is
How
real.
long? It takes you like literally an hour and a half to get everywhere that you need to
right. Yeah. Like some place that's like 15 minutes, it's like an hour
Exactly.
and a
Oh,
half.
yes.
And I'm like, oh, okay,
yes.
lovely.
Yes.
But it's
is
been
it
great.
how is it in Orlando though when you get from place to place? Is it as bad as here? It's not, right?
No pa tanto. No, it's not. Like honestly, like yes, there's where I live, I'm like 7 minutes from Disney. So when you get the Disney traffic sometimes for sure.
Yeah.
But nothing compared, like you guys got us beat there. So
Okay,
yeah. But it's been
For
great. And the
sure.
food has been amazing. Like
How
I've
about
been loving
food
it.
over here? Have you been going to some good places?
Yeah, I've been spoiled. Like
good.
honestly, I'm being spoiled over here. So I just
That's
came from a food spot called Formosa, which was like an Asian spot.
Yummy.
The day before we were at Perch, which had an amazing view.
Yummy, yes.
And yeah, like the only sad part of all of this is that when I start craving these dishes, I'm not going to be able to come here. I'm going to have to buy a
but
whole flight.
see, that is no problem. Exactly, because
Yes.
you're going to have to come and
It's
visit
an
us.
excuse to have
It's
to
an
come
excuse.
back. Mhm.
Exactly. And
Correct.
we would love to have you here as many times as you want to come back.
Love
so
it.
we are so excited, Melody, because I know you're here for a special event that we're going to be having.
Yeah.
And people are so excited. I know that I'm excited to be
Yes.
able to worship alongside you and everybody that's going to be joining.
Yeah.
But I want to get to know a little bit more of Melody. I want to get into, I don't know, what are your hobbies? What's your favorite? I know that you mentioned already a little bit of what your favorite food is.
Yeah.
Your favorite color, you know,
Yes.
your favorite song, your favorite movie,
All
a
the
little bit of
things.
everything.
Yes, a little mix. Okay, well, where do we start? Because that was a lot.
I know.
So, okay, hobbies. I know that was one thing you said.
Mm-hmm.
So outside of like the typical, obviously like singing and writing
Mm-hmm.
and stuff, I think for me, what I really love to do is like, I don't know if it's a hobby, but I love just connecting with nature. So like I love going on like little walks. This sounds like I'm like doing a dating profile. I'm like long walks on the beach, but I really do. Like I just
Are
enjoy-
you single?
Yes, I am.
Okay, everybody,
Long
hey,
walks
she's
on the
single.
beach, guys. So let's go. But no, so I really just like enjoy like just being like one with nature, and then I'm a foodie, so I guess that's a hobby too. Like I love trying new places.
Yeah.
I love traveling. So I guess that's considered hobbies, right? Those are like hobbies.
Yes. Anything you love to do. Of course,
Yes,
of course. You
I
know.
am.
Okay, so how about like you said you're a foodie, but you must have something that you say, okay, if anything, you know, if I'm like, if this is the last food I get
Oh, yeah.
to eat, you know, for the rest of my life, what will you pick?
Okay, so it's a toss up between Vietnamese stir fry and like salmon bites. Like just
Okay.
like you chop up like little salmon and that with like a little bit of side of like avocado. And that's
Okay.
it. But I love Asian food.
Now,
so.
now you're getting me hungry. Okay, that's
Okay, so let's take a break, guys. Let's
we
go
just
right now.
started and we're gonna take a break.
Yeah, we'll take a 5.
We'll see you in like 5 minutes.
Literally.
So, okay, now, you're an amazing singer. Oh my gosh, you are just so amazing. I mean, the tone, your voice, the anointing. I mean, it's just beautiful. Have you been singing like your whole life?
Yeah, so I'm pretty much was born and raised in the church, so like music has always been a very big influence, and then I came from a musical family as well. So just growing up around music, it was always a part of me. But I will say that it was never something that I consider, which oddly enough, I know it's gonna sound kind of ironic, but I never really saw myself doing it like full time. Like I didn't think that that was a possibility for me. But I grew up, my abuelitos, they like, used to play in the sala, like and play like the old corridos, like canciones del ayer ver, you know, and I used to
Yeah.
sit there and watch them and just be so in awe of their love for the Lord and the way that they would just, sometimes they just started singing random songs, you know, and just
Yeah.
spontaneous moments of worship
I
that I
love
was just
that.
always so like drawn to. So yeah.
I heard something yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Your abuelitos wrote a very famous song that we sing all over California, and I'm sure everywhere, you know, in the country and other
Yeah.
Latin America countries. So,
Yeah.
qué bueno.
Yup. Llegó la Navidad.
Hey.
Yes.
Hey, I was like, wait a minute, really? Because
Crazy.
we sing that song, you know, that's one of the classics, and that's
Yup.
amazing. So your
Legends.
abuelitos were the ones
Son
that wrote it.
legados. Yeah, literally. So
Yes.
they were born and raised on the island and in Puerto Rico. And yeah, they wrote that song when my grandma was 18 and my grandpa was I think 21 years old, early 20s. And yeah, they wrote that song like as a like kind of just like a corito to sing out in the times of Christmas time, and from there on it just spread from the island and then outside of the island, and now it's a classic. It's a song that we continue to sing out
Yes.
every
You
time
know,
in the year.
I would really love for you to do that song and like, hey,
Oh.
a little remix.
Well, you're onto something because there's a little something cooking. So
Hey.
I can't say too much, but there's something cooking.
I
So
love it.
you
Okay, you got to stay tuned for that. Okay,
stay tuned this Christmas.
I
Something's
love
coming.
that. I love that. Are your abuelitos still with us?
They
Todavía
are,
viven ellos?
yeah, they are still with us and still creative as ever. Like, you know, I love that when I go to their house de vez en cuando, like I see my my abuelito still with his guitarra, like playing in the corner and being like, mija, déjame enseñarte like algunas canciones que I just wrote, and like, you know, I get to like
love
listen to like
that.
his old tracks too, and then he's like, let me know if you want me to, like, you can have this song and make it into something new. Like he's always creating. And then my grandma as well, like she's a poet, so she like she writes a lot of poems, and so every time like I enter the the house, it's like I'm expecting una drama. Like she comes in and she's like, mi amor, mi vida. Like she's so fun. I love it. So yeah.
Awesome. I love
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
I love it. I love it because sometimes we don't really pay attention, you know, as adults, or speaking of myself.
Right.
A veces no pensamos que lo que decimos y lo que hacemos, the kids are watching
Yes,
us, you know, and
yeah.
it's like you're influencing their
so
lives, and
true.
that's what they've done with you because you're very young and
Yeah.
you're doing so much already in ministry, you know, and traveling all over
Yeah.
Latin America and the United States, and I feel like, man, like you're so young doing all this y para todavía todo lo que demás que Dios tiene, pero tiene que ver, it has to do with what your grandparents and your parents have sowed, lo que ellos han invertido en ti.
Yeah.
How has it been, you know, to be growing up at a home like that's, you know,
Yeah.
a Christian home? How has that
Yeah.
been? Because a lot of people may think, oh, well, you know, she has it all together because she grew up at church. Maybe she
Right.
doesn't have the problems that I go through, or,
Right.
you know, people may think that way sometimes. But what would you say, you know, that how has it been living, you know, or growing up in a Christian home?
Yeah. I mean, I think obviously, like you said, like it doesn't exempt anyone from trial and tribulations in this life. I think we all will face struggles. One thing I can say is that it has been a blessing to be born and raised in the church and being a pastor's kid, because it was such a great foundation that when moments and trials came in my life, I was able to know who I can lean into, you
Yes.
know? And so I think that is what I would say, is that even though it's been difficult, and obviously we'll probably get into it more, but
Yeah.
even though I've gone through many like ups and downs, I'm so thankful that I was able to be brought up in a home of faith, because it
Yes.
allowed me to not place my own weaknesses and my own, you know, disabilities like onto others, but really place it in the feet of Jesus. And he became the strength that I needed in ways that I wouldn't even imagine. And it's like so beautiful to witness his word truly coming to life in
Yes.
those everydays. So
Yes,
yeah.
and you know, it's a beautiful thing to know, because a lot of the times people may think, well, you know, being growing up in a Christian home, you people may think they have it easier than us, but it's
Right.
not that way. We still
Yeah.
go through many
Yeah.
trials, many circumstances. El diablo se enoja, you know, because it's like, hey, how can I
Absolutely.
get this person out of?
Absolutely.
And actually, I would really love for you to tell us, because I was asking you, like behind camera, hey, you know, how many siblings do you have?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
you're
yeah.
telling me you're the only child, and you mentioned something that really caught my attention. And it's that you are a miracle baby. And I
Yeah.
would love for you to share that story with us, you know,
course.
because that really touches my heart, and
Yeah.
it's a testimony that inspires me a lot. And I know
Absolutely.
that there's a lot of women that are going to be blessed by
Yeah.
that as well.
Absolutely. So yeah, my parents, they got married pretty young. My mom was like 18 or 19 when she got
Very
married.
young.
Yeah, she was a young mama. And so so yeah, she got married, and during those span of 7 years, she was basically told by doctors that she was unable to conceive and have children. And within that span of those 7 years as well, she lost 2 babies. She had 2 miscarriages, and she had a lot of other underlying health issues as well. She had endometriosis, she had fibroids or something like that. Don't correct me if I'm wrong. I can't say it. But yeah, just a lot of, like, she had a tilted uterus. There was just so many things against her, like medically, right? That they were saying, like, yeah, the possibility of you being able to have kids is very, like, slim to none. And on that 7th year, she was conceived with me, and they prepared her to go home and to lose to lose the baby at that time. And she made a bold prayer unto the Lord, and she pleaded with God, and, you know, was like, no, like, I believe that this is like what you've promised me, and please, God, like, you know, I really, like, she was begging unto the Lord, like, if this doesn't happen, then I don't want anything to know anything about kids. Like, I'm done. Like, you know, she was so frustrated, and her faith had completely just, you know, was withered, like, in that time. And so during her pregnancy, within those like 6.5 months, she was sick throughout that whole pregnancy. She was on IV, on bed rest. She was literally like unable to almost keep anything down. So she was so weak throughout all of those 6.5 months. And on the day that she turned 7 months, she ended up having like an appendicitis, and she didn't know what was happening. And so they rushed her to the hospital, and the amniotic fluid in the baby in the sac, like, was completely just like brown. It was so like infected, and it was really bad to the point where they were like, no, like, we need to take her now, and we need to deliver this baby. And, you know, I can only imagine, like, you know, obviously I wasn't there, but like, I can only imagine just like all of the emotions that must have been running through, because again, holding on to this idea and knowing, like, God, but you promised, and now I'm back in this place where I might lose my child, and like, in an even, you know, heavier loss it would have been, you know, for her to have to give birth in that condition. And so they almost essentially were telling my dad, like, if there comes down to it, like, you're gonna have to choose between your wife or this baby. Like, it was to that point where, like, she was at the verge of losing her life. And thank God, in that C-section, I was born, but I was born and I wasn't breathing. So they had to resuscitate me. So I was technically born like dead. And so they had to revive me. And in that process of me being in the hospital, it happened another 2 times where they had to revive me because my body was so underdeveloped. And throughout that entire time, there was just this faith that my parents knew, like, no, Lord, like, this is your promise. This is the miracle. And even in that, wrapped in that, it's in my own name, which I think is so powerful. My mom called me Melody Amaris, which Amaris in Hebrew, it means the one who God promised. And so just even in that name itself is that I'm a walking miracle and testament to their prayers and their faithfulness, you know, because they could have, you know, had every reason, right, to walk away or to grow bitter with the Lord, which I think that in that 7-year process, there probably were moments, right, where they were, you know, questioning the Lord and all of that, but he's so faithful. And I think that it's just a testament that when he has a purpose over your life, when there is a promise that has been spoken, continue to hold on to that understanding that it might not be in the timeline that we see fit in our lives, but yet he will make that way because what he has spoken will never go void. So
my gosh, that is so beautiful and powerful, because easily your mom could have said, okay, 2 miscarriages and the doctor is giving me this report. easily she just could have given up and said, okay, whatever, you know, whatever happens, it happens. But instead, you said, she was praying to God.
Yep.
She did that bold prayer and she believed, she confessed. And there is power in prayer. There is power in confession.
Absolutely.
And when we believe and when we praise God before our breakthrough, we see miracles happen. And you are a testimony of that.
Yeah.
Because here we can see you now, and people may think, oh, okay, Melody Adorno, we get to sing with her, we get to listen to her worship. But it's like it was a process, and sometimes I think that, you know, the enemy quería matar ese milagro antes de que sucediera, just so the generation now wouldn't be blessed through you. You know, so it's like, okay, no. Your parents, they believe, they persevere, they continue to pray, and they continue to wait on the Lord in such a hard season, and you're a testimony of that, and it's so beautiful to see that, and it's so encouraging. And I'd like to tell, you know, everybody that is watching, continue to pray, continue to believe, because it is not in our time, it is in God's time, and God's time is perfect. El tiempo de Dios es perfecto para cada uno de nosotros, y cuando nosotros perseveramos en la oración, Él contesta, y Él contesta con poder. Y ella es un testimonio. She is a testimony and a miracle. And we see in your life, you know, the things that God is doing. And it's just so amazing. I'd love, Melody, for you to tell us a little bit more about your ministry. I know that you've been singing your whole life. You know, you grew up in a home where you're saying that, hey, you had your grandparents and your parents, you know, in that musical area and all that. But I would like to know, is there like a specific song, or is there a specific time in your life where you said, okay, I want to do this now, and I want to do it professionally. I want to be able to travel now. I want to be able to worship God and to lead others into worship. How did that happen? Because I know you mentioned earlier, a few minutes ago, I didn't really think I would do it, you know, this way. So how did that happen? When did that shift happen?
Right. Okay. So I graduated early. I graduated at 16 years old. So I was a baby, and it's not that I was like a genius. I just worked smarter, not harder. You know what I mean? So I found the loopholes because I was ready to get out of school, and I just like, you know, was just like, I just want to get into like college. So I kind of was in a mindset of just like trying to rush things, and I was in the rush of life, and I just really wanted to get to that next step. But when I entered into college, I went to Southeastern University. I don't know if you've heard of that university. It's in Lakeland, Florida. And when I got there, I took that first year actually off of being involved in anything that had to do with music, because I had just come out of being in church, and I think that that's like a whole nother, you know, topic in itself. But I think I was just a little bit like burned out. I felt slightly church hurt, and I just really wanted to take a season where I just wanted to step away from it all and just take like a year of just kind of like a reset from my life. And I couldn't hide for long, because in that second semester, someone on campus found out that I like did worship and that I sang in like my old church, and they were in a season of recruiting, and they were like, we want you to audition for the worship team. And I was like, no, I don't want to. Like, I was like, please no. And they were like, no, like, we want you to audition. So I auditioned, and from there I joined the worship team. And what I actually fell in love with in that team was the songwriting aspect, because I wrote songs like in my secret place with the Lord a lot, and you know, it was something that was a way for me to feel very connected with the Lord. It was something that like allowed me to even he would reveal more of his character through my writing, like by me just sitting in those moments and really reflecting upon him. And so to be able to see that there were people that were doing this like professionally, because we were able to connect. Southeastern University was an amazing way to be that bridge of like worshipers and different songwriters, and you know, even people from the music business that would come to this school during conferences, and I was able to ask them questions on like, oh, like, how do you do this professionally, and how does that? So I think it started piquing like my curiosity of like, oh, like, there might actually be like, you can make a career out of this, or this is something that, you know, like, Lord, like that you open that way to make that happen. And so fast forward to 2019, I was in a place where I just started praying to the Lord because I had already changed my major like 3 times. I was so indecisive. Like I was like, I don't know what like I'm doing, you know.
But you were still so little too.
Right. I mean, exactly. Yeah. I'm like literally 17, 18 years old. So,
Yes.
you know, but I think obviously naturally, especially I don't know if it's a woman thing. I mean, it probably is a man thing too, but especially for us as women, like we feel like we're on this like time, like this time clock, right? Like this like internal clock of like, we have to get this done and we have to do that. And, you know, we're so worried about the future. And I think that was something that like provoked a lot of that like anxiety of feeling like what's the next step, what's this, but in that moment I did make kind of like a bold prayer with the Lord because I was like, you know, I know that this has been a gift that has been in my life, you know, but I just don't know, like I'm scared, Lord, like, you know, can this really be a career? Like I've seen, you know, so many people enter this space and lose themselves or you know, chase these false like hopes of things and like, you know, then end up leaving disappointed. And I think it was that fear of like just being disappointed and not knowing like, you know, the stability of a space like this. And so in 2019 I received a message after I made that prayer, like, Lord, like what's next? I received a text or Instagram message from Maverick City Music, and I didn't really know who they were at the time, so I was a little weirded out because I was like, who are these people and why are they like reaching out to me? And it was like so specific because they were like, hey, like, do you write music? And I was like, yes. And they're like, cool. So we want to fly you out. We have a writing camp. Do you want to come? And it was so like out of nowhere, but it was also like in God's perfect time because I had just prayed about it. And I was like, Lord. And so I went to that writing camp, and the first time that I stepped in, I just met these amazing people and like people from all over, like in different ministries, from Bethel to Hillsong to just like all of these big, you know, names and these big churches that when they're like, oh, where are you from? And I'm like, Orlando, Florida. Like, you know, like I was like, who am I? Like, I'm nobody, you know, like I felt so little, but at the same time being like, God, like, what are you doing? Because how am I even here? And so I think during that time, then they just kept inviting me to more writing camps. And then eventually I became a writer for them until then it launched into 2020 Maverick City Musica, which was the expression, the branch of the Latin expression of Maverick City in Spanish. And so during that time, the Lord just kept on just opening beautiful doors and being able to be the bridge in that time for you know, people like myself with second, third generation Latinas that are able to like bridge that space of, you know, embracing our culture and knowing that we're so much more than just the language that we speak, but it really is, you know, we're family oriented, the warmth that we bring into a room. And so God just started to really minister into my heart and showing me that this was something he really had established for my life. And I say this all because that was a little bit of a long-winded answer, but I say it all.
I like that.
I say it all because truthfully, like, it was a process for me to get to that point. So I don't think there was ever like a moment in time. It was those moments that like he was just like, okay, step here a little bit. Oh, here's another little step, you know, and somehow, some way it brought me to a place of acceptance to be like, oh, this is how you were going to get me to where you are. And he's still doing it. Like I'm still in that process. Like I think I'm still with everything that the Lord has done, and I'm so grateful. And if he doesn't do another thing in my life, I'm like, no, like this is more than enough. But I think that like even in this process, like he's still guiding me, and he's still leading me in this space of being able to lean into the call of full-time ministry. Because it's not for the faint of heart. I think comes with its challenges, and I think even just the aspect I was talking about with like stability. I think a lot of the times, like when we really become fully dependent on the Lord, like we fear, right, that it's like, oh my gosh, the unknown, the uncertainty. And so we long and we crave for that stability. We crave for like knowing what's next, right? That control that we want. So that was something that I had to learn in that process too, of just complete surrender onto the Lord in a process where I might not know what tomorrow will bring, which none of us do. And I might not know what this next step holds. Like I might have vision and maybe some type of dreams of what is going to happen, but to lean in fully and to trust him was such a process for me, because I was like, I don't know what's happening, God, you know, but he's like, just trust me. And it's been that ever since. Just I've been holding his hand, and he has been guiding me every step of the way. And if sometimes I stumble, he's like, all right, get up, let's pause. And he got me, and we keep pushing forward, you know. So
I love it, because you said a few things that really caught my attention. And it's one of the things that you said, it's process. A lot of people think, you just have connections. Yeah, we have the connection of the Holy Spirit, you know, but he's the one that makes the way, you know, and it's like, God knows your heart.
Yeah.
And I think that's the main thing, that when he knows that your heart is ready
Yeah.
for a bigger platform, he'll open up the
Yes.
doors,
Yeah.
and he'll put the right people.
Yeah.
You know, I think that if you are in the right place at the right time, God will just make a way.
Yes,
And you
absolutely.
know, if your heart is ready, and I think it has to do with that, because more than a talent, you know, and I see this in you. I mean, I'm meeting you. This is the second time that I meet you in person, you know, but it's like there's this, I can feel it in my spirit, and it's not just melody, another singer, you know, another person, you know, that has a beautiful voice, but you're spirit led, and you minister, you feel, you transmit what you are singing, and that's what we need. And you also said, hey, you know, second, third generation Latina. Sadly, a lot of second generation and third generations are no longer in our churches because they don't feel like it's a place for them anymore, because it seems like a lot of our Latino churches cater more into that first generation.
Yeah.
Or like traditions, it's because this is how we've done church all the time. It's like, you can't forget that church is not about me. Church is about God. Church is about, you know, pointing people to him. And it's not about us maintaining our language, but it's the kingdom language.
Yes.
And it's like, you
That's
know,
our
what
first
you're
identity.
doing.
Yep.
And I love it, because people hearing you say that, it's like, you are a second, third generation Latina, and look at what God is doing in you and through you. And that's a beautiful thing. You were curious about something and you started praying about it. You asked God about something. He answered, you know, and it's been a process.
Yep.
And he's taking you to places. And I think, I mean, I know God has shown you many beautiful things already. Yeah. But it's just, I feel like, just the tip of the greater things he's still gonna do, because you're amazing, Melody. And I'm not just telling you just because you're here or anything. I think it's because God has greater things for you. Amen. And he's gonna continue to do it. And I love it that you are testifying about that, you know, and that you are not getting intimidated, because I think it could get intimidated to walk into a room where, like, okay, all of these singers, all of these writers, Lord, what am I doing here? I feel so little in this place. But God's like, no, I see your heart. Yeah, it's because I see you when you're in your room where nobody is watching. When the lights are off, I'm there with you, and I sense that from you. Like, I feel that that's your heart. You know, you seek the presence of God when nobody's watching. So God is like, hey, here you are, you know, and it's a beautiful thing to hear that, and I love it. I love it. And there's a new project. I know that you've been touring right now, and it's Entronado.
Entronado,
Can you tell us a little bit, how was the process of this project, and how has it been this last, I don't know, couple of months?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. Do we want the short version or do we want the long version?
However you want.
This is long form. We can go the long version.
Podcast,
yeah, it's a podcast, so stay with me, folks.
Yes.
So yeah, okay. So fun fact, Entronado, actually the songs were songs that I originally was writing to pitch to other people because I had it was during that transition where I had transitioned out of Maverick City Musica into now doing like my solos things. And I really wanted to tap in and lean into the writing space, because that it was a place where I feel like I hid behind my pen. And I think that was like my comfort zone. Because even with Maverick City Musica, I was able to do it with other people and to collaborate. So I think for me, it felt safer, right? But during that time in that season, I had stepped out and I just kept on writing music. And these songs were just like, it just happened in moments in times where I would be in my prayer closet with the Lord, or you know, I was in my car and there would be a melody that would come into my head and I just just humming it into my phone and voice memos and stuff. And it wasn't until not last year, the year before, 2023. I'm like, I'm losing track of years. I'm like, oh my gosh. I feel like after 2020, like I just lost track of like, that was, I'm like, talk about trauma. But so in 2023, we were at a family vacation in New York, and we were talking to a friend of ours who owns different estates and lands and stuff like that, and he was showing a picture of this space that was just so beautiful. It was a mansion, it was so gorgeous, and he was like, yeah, I'm gonna flip it and I'm gonna use it for different things. And the moment that I saw that space, I was like, oh my gosh, that would be so cool to do something there, or film there or something. But it just looks so beautiful and so royal, and there was just such a beauty to it. It literally the very first thought that came to my mind was this throne room, and I just kept thinking about the throne room. And so we had left from New York, and we went to we got to go to Spain, and we were there, and we were in Madrid, and when we were there, I kept looking again at the cathedrals and just the streets, and just so in awe again of the architecture and the beauty and this, and just that thought in my mind was man, if I'm just so in awe looking at all of these buildings and this architecture, how much more beautiful will it be the day that I step into, the gates of heaven? How much more beautiful will it be, and how much more in awe will I be when I step into that throne room and have that experience where it's just me and him, and there's nothing more beautiful than just to seek his face and see his face. And so when I got back home, it was shortly after that my grandmother had passed away, and I was there on her deathbed, and I was holding her hand when she went to be with the Lord, and there was just this face, this literally looked like a face of a little child, when she just was looking at me, but looking past me, because I know she was seeing something. She was looking probably at the face of Jesus. I can only imagine what she was seeing, but the smile on her face, the joy, she even it's a little funny, but she even did she used to do this shimmy when she used to dance a lot, and she even did a little shimmy when she smiled, and then she just left, and there was just the peace of God that fell in that room. The presence of the Lord was in that room. It was so such a crazy experience, because usually obviously death is something that you grieve, and it's sorrowful, but there was a moment there where there was this sense of joy, and knowing that, man, she's with her maker, she's made it, she's in the ultimate place where we all long to be one day, and so I went home. I wrote the song Sonido del Cielo, and it was in that song because it was talking about the sound of heaven, right? And just that understanding of what does it look like, what does the sound of heaven sound like, and how can we come alongside and join that sound, where I really felt the Holy Spirit tell me, so yeah, the songs that you've been writing for this whole year, this is the sound that I want you to birth, and this is what I want for you to bring out into the world. And it was just this sinking, weighty feeling of oh Lord, but this is so much bigger than me. And the Lord's exactly. And that's when it is from me, when it's something that you cannot withhold yourself, but something that I need to carry for you and to walk with you to see happen. And so yeah, that's kind of the birthing process, and the posture, the heart behind Entronado is coming back to a place of a return. It really is a returning back to the feet of Jesus, to that throne room experience, and allowing for our hearts to become his home, because that's kind of the second title of Entronado, because it's a bilingual project. So it's Entronado, my heart, your home, that he would be enthroned upon our hearts, because once we have that revelation of understanding that his throne can be bestowed upon us because we allow that space for him to dwell, it changes everything. And we are able to have a greater perspective of knowing, we carry him in the everyday. We have access to tap into his presence. We have direct access to come and enter into his throne room, and so I would say that that's in short the heartbeat behind this entire process, and in the simplest of terms, if not anything else. This was the long-winded answer, but my heart is that when people listen to these songs, that it would just be allow them to go through this journey of what it is to know that from the beginning of time there was a song that was sung over the earth that brought everything into fruition. And that's even kind of the birthing of the intro. I don't know if you heard kind of the instrumental. It's the start of creation, that everything was in perfect harmony. Everything was just operating under the way that God had always called it to be. And I think that we have forever, after the fall of man, have forever tried to chase that moment of trying to get back to that song that he has sung over us, and to get back to that unity with him, to know that we were created, and our original design, first and foremost, before anything else, was to worship. And that is what we do. That is who we are through and through. And so Entronado is taking you into that journey to bring you back to your original design, to worship the King, and to allow him to be enthroned upon your heart. So
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that
Yes.
because it's beautiful. That's what we were created for,
Yeah.
to worship him and just, put our hearts and our minds
Yep.
and everything, our whole being
Yep.
and before his feet and just
Yeah.
worship him in spirit and in truth. I'd like for you to any advice that you have for the young people. A lot of people have many dreams
Yeah.
and goals for life, and you've mentioned it. There's a lot of challenges.
Yes.
A lot of people may think that being in ministry, it's all about having it all together, or
Yeah.
like, oh, it's all luxury. Look, I'm traveling all over the place and this and that. But you do face a lot of
Yep.
things. What would be an advice that you tell maybe that young person that has a dream, to maybe step into those spaces, because a lot of people may have the dream,
Yeah.
but something that I always say, it's let's be faithful
Yeah.
in where God has us at
Right,
the moment.
right.
But what would you tell that person that is trying to, I don't know, maybe they're saying, hey, I have this dream.
Right.
I know that it's a calling, but I don't even know how to start.
Right.
I don't even know where to go.
Yeah.
Where do I go from here? What would
Yeah.
you tell that person?
Absolutely. I mean, I think first and foremost, if it is a dream in your heart that feels bigger than yourself, I think that's when you know it's a God dream. When it's something that you can do on your own, then it's not a God dream. And I feel like that's something how I've measured like God's
Yes.
promises and his dreams over our life. When it feels bigger than us, when it feels like we need more hands, then that is what the kingdom is, because we're called to commune with each other. We're called to do life with one another. And so I think that first step is acknowledging that this dream, the best way to steward a dream and anything God has given to us is with open hands, and allow for him to, the one who gave you the dream, he deserves to have full reign over what that looks like. So I think first it's understanding how to give up that control and the timelines of things, because you see people now, right, living in this, the product though of their process, the
Yes.
product of their, just the trial that they had to face. But you just see again just the lights and the glamour and all these things, but you don't recognize that people have had to walk through a lot to be able to even stand where they are today. So I think it's also then in that second, it's, giving up control, letting go of comparison.
Yes.
Because the more you compare, I feel like that is one of the biggest, how would I say, like the venom, right? The venom of allowing dreams to die, like it's the
Limitations
poison.
of
Yeah,
yourself.
it really is. It limits yourself, and that's the word. It's a poison for your dreams, like when you compare yourself to others, because the Lord is being like, man, but I've established something so specific for
Yes.
you, and if you keep looking left and right, then you're never going to see what I have bestowed upon you in front of
Right,
you.
yeah.
And then third is community. So I say that surround yourself with people who are going to fan the flames, right, of your dreams and continue to speak life upon your dreams, because who you surround yourself with, the connections that you make with people, it will be a very big factor too in how far you will go. Because and it's gonna sound so silly, but I was watching the movie Mufasa. I don't know if you've seen it. Yes, the live action. And there's a lyric in the song, if you want to go far or something like that, but it says, if you want to go fast, then go alone, but if you want to go far, we go together. And that in itself could just preach, because it's like, yeah, if you want to get instant results, if you want to do all these things, then yeah, try to do it on your own. But if you want to go farther than you've ever been before, you need to link arms with people who are going to help you get there, So in summary, 1, give up control, do not compare yourself, and surround yourself with community who are going to speak life upon your dreams.
I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for blessing us in this episode. It's been so amazing to hear you, to get to know you. I am looking forward to hear more of the things that God is placing in your heart. I've learned a lot from you in this episode, and I'm sure that you have spoken a lot to everybody that is watching us. So thank you so much. Gracias a todos por conectarse. Please continue to follow us Activen la campanita ahí para ver todos los episodios de Veraz Podcast. And this has been an amazing episode. So if you have any questions, if you also want to connect with Melody, we're going to leave her information here as well, her social media, so you can follow. So follow and like. And we love you guys. Thank you so much. Muchísimas gracias. Bendiciones.